Well, good day, everybody. Good morning to some, afternoon to others, because we're across the U.S. And again, welcome and thank you for attending our special webinar today. We haven't had one in a while, so I'm really excited to have this webinar and have Rob introduce our special guest, because it is recruiting season, and now is the time to really hit it hard and get those new agents in your office and get their productivity up. So we have a special guest today that I'll let Rob introduce, because she is all about recruiting and growing your office. Rob, how are you?
I'm great. Thanks, Paul. I hope you had a great summer. You know, it's always amazing when we get to do these, and I think we have a lot of fun with these podcasts. But I think we've got one of our best guests ever, if not the best, with Traci today. I mean, who else have we had on that has a book on Amazon that you can go and buy, which is pretty cool. The Millionaire Mindset.
Very cool.
For real estate, for real estate wealth. Yeah. So Traci Gagnon, how are you doing today?
I'm so honored and blessed to be part of this amazing conversation and to help real estate brokers grow and prosper and build their real estate offices, and to learn from you guys as well.
Awesome. Right on. Well, let's kick it off, Paul. Do you want to maybe ask a couple questions for Traci, or I've got a couple in the can, and just talk to her a little bit more about where she's come from? I mean, I can just take the lead on that. Traci, you've been all over the place with your career and done so many things. Maybe just tell people a little bit more about how you got started in real estate and where you're at now.
Yeah, sure. Well, I come from a teaching background, and when I bought my first house, my real estate agent was not very good, and she made more money on that transaction than I made in an entire month. And I thought, there is something wrong here, right? So I stumbled upon a Tony Robbins book that it was a $14 book, and I had $22 till payday. And that book was the catalyst that gave me the encouragement to start to go into real estate. So I jumped into real estate, and after 2 years got the bright idea to open up my own real estate company, right? Mm-hmm. And I found out very quickly why we're called brokers. Because I would pay a lot of money to being broker than most of my agents. So I opened up a Century 21 franchise, and I just lost money hand over fist for the first 2.5 years. Every penny that I made was reinvested into the company. I was utterly miserable. On the outside, I looked like things were going very well, but it was just absolute torture. And I had a decent sized office, but not enough to really support the overhead that I had. And then through an interesting change of events, my office grew very quickly in a really short period of time. And suddenly I started to make a little bit of money. So what did I do? I opened up more branches, right? I couldn't be happy with having a cash flow. So I ended with 5 Century 21 franchises. One of them was the 4th largest in the United States. And I got a call in 2007 from an industry leader. And he said to me, Traci, it's coming. And I didn't believe him. And I argued with him. Oh, you know what? I'm in San Antonio, and we're insulated from all the big rises in prices. So we'd be insulated from any kind of a crash, and, all the reasons why I didn't have to worry. San Antonio was going to be safe from economic, catastrophe. And he listened to me and got real quiet. And then he dropped his voice an octave and said, Traci, it's coming. And I believed him, Rob. I believed him. And so I went to, there was something about what he said and how he said, wasn't what he said, it was how he said it. So I sold my company about 6 weeks before the market crashed. And so I saw everybody else's businesses burn to the ground while I had money in the bank. And it was really kind of, by the God. Yeah. I listened to the right people. Every once in a while you listen to the right person and do the right things. So at that point, I went on the professional speaking tour. I was working as a consultant, helping real estate agents and brokers build their business. Was eventually recruited over to KW, and was Recruiter of the Year globally my first year with KW. And I know, which sounds really great. I had this idea of what profit share was, but it just didn't work out that way for me. My office was not profitable enough, and I went back to selling real estate. And I kind of thought I'd be on that hamster wheel forever, right? And I kind of resigned myself to that. Anyway, I got a call about this little company called eXp. And when I got the call initially, I was too exhausted to even think about taking a look at it. And I said no. And my business partner took a look at it and came in half an hour later, and his hair was standing straight up. And he says, Traci, you got to see this. So I ran my numbers that I did with Keller Williams through the eXp model, and I would have made more than 10 times the money. And I cried because I knew that even though I didn't want to make a switch, I had to. It would be financially irresponsible not to. So I joined eXp. I was agent number 730. And yeah, I know. And in the past 6 years, 10 months, and 22 glorious days, I've personally brought on about 102 people to that company. And that has turned into a revenue share organization of over 7,200 agents in pretty much all 50 states and in several other countries. And the residual pays me more than $1 million a year. So I have finally found a recruiting model that allows me to earn a spectacular living without having to work a lot of hours. And that's just indicative of it's not that my actions are any different, it's the compensation plan is different. And not only for recruiters, but also for real estate agents within eXp. So that was a long answer to a very short question, Rob.
That's
Amazing
that's
answer.
That's a great story. And I do want to talk about recruiting, but before we get there, what really intrigues me about your history in real estate is you took some chances, right?
Mhm.
I mean, you opened your first office, and then you had to make a big decision there. Do I open up more branches or not? And then another pivotal moment of, is it now time to sell? So when you're going through these, what I'll call threshold moments, and of course, 2020 hindsight, we're like, I know what the decision should have been, but when you're in the thick of it, what went through your mind in making those landmark decisions, which kind of brought you where you are today? Because I know a number of our guests today are probably going through their own threshold decisions. So what advice do you have on that front first?
Paul, what a really insightful question. There are some people that open up their own real estate companies or become a broker of record because they like their name on the door, right?
Mm-hmm.
That was never me. For me, it was always about leverage. How do I work less and make more? And coming from a teaching background, and I was a theology major, so my whole life has really been about how can I serve people and how can I help more people? So I really felt like being a broker, owning my own real estate company, I could impact a larger number of real estate agents. And of course, when I started in real estate, the eXp model wasn't available. eXp was introduced in 2009. I heard about it for the first time in 2015. So we didn't know that there was a better way, right? Now every broker out there knows that there are multiple ways to exit your real estate business. I always thought, well, I could sell my real estate business and make a lot of money on it. And I was very fortunate to be able to do that in 2007. However, those days for the most part are gone. We've even seen the Compass model, where Compass was basically paying agents to join them, and how they've had to back off of that model. And with the fact that, real estate has fallen out of favor with Wall Street, they're not throwing money at real estate companies like they were a couple of years ago. It's really changed the whole dynamics, and brokers have got to really look to the future about, do I want to avoid pain or do I want to gain pleasure? And I think that almost every person that owned a real estate company in 2007 wishes that they had done what I did, sell their company while the selling was really good. And it's we used to say that real estate was all about location. But one thing that we learned during the last downturn is that that's not true. Real estate, like everything in life, is about timing. Because if you bought a house at the best price, at a great price in 2007, you probably were upside down for a decade or more, right? So it really comes down to, looking at your business. eXp's got some really great systems where they can actually take a broker's book of business and say, If you had been with eXp, this is how much more money your agents would have made in the past year, and this is how much more money you'd have made. So there are people that understand the spreadsheets strategically enough to be able to run those numbers for you. It doesn't cost anything to take a look at those numbers and run the same numbers with your CPA. Would you be better folding your company into another real estate company or into a mega team, reducing overhead, of course, in a strategic way? What are you using that's not serving you anymore? We've got to take a look at those numbers and take a very, very hard look at those numbers, because, I think most of us would agree winter is here. And there's nobody that I have talked to or listened to that thinks that things are going to get better for our industry anytime soon. I love what Tony Robbins says. He says that our optimism serves us everywhere except in our finances. And I was very optimistic about my finances. And the fact that I had somebody really say the right words to me at the right time was one of the greatest blessings in my life.
Love it. Timing is everything, and I mean, one of the things I love about Traci is she's so well spoken, and I think that really impacts her ability to recruit people. And I'm, Traci, when you're talking to somebody, with your vast experience in the industry, regardless of your brand or that, what office you're working for, what are some of the things that you look for in an agent when you're recruiting? Like, are you looking for people that have a certain vibe or a certain production, or how do you approach them?
What a great question. I've been recruiting real estate agents since Clinton was in office. Okay. So I've been around the block, and
Nice.
Yeah, I know. Says how old I am. But the difference is that I have recruited people that came from big money families that were well connected in the community, that had lots of money to throw at their real estate business and lots of time and lots of enthusiasm, and had the pretty car and the pretty clothes and were good looking and well spoken, that crashed and burned. And I've seen single mothers juggling, 3 children with a rundown car that doesn't work half the time, that speaks broken English, blow this business up. It's that grit. I really, that's the word that I've really come to embrace. I think the grit is more important than the grind. I used to say you have to be willing to grind. I don't know that I subscribe to that as much anymore. I think sometimes grinding is what we do, when we're put behind the 8 ball. But man, real estate is for the people that want it, not for the people that need it. And I think a lot of it goes to, you give everybody the opportunity. I mean, if they're able to pass the test and they've got a decent energy, then I think that you give them the opportunity. And then, you swim towards the ones that are swimming toward you. You work with the agents that are showing up, that are asking questions, that are reaching out. And I tell my agents that all the time. Listen, I'm under the assumption that you want to make money in your real estate business. And I'm here to help you and serve you every step of the way. But if you're not opening up the emails that I send you, and I've got to, like most of us, have a great CRM. I can tell every email that's been opened up. If you're not opening up the emails, if you're not plugging into the free training classes that we offer, if you're not responding to my text messages, then I'm just left to assume, you've got other things going on in your life, and that's okay. That's the great thing about our business. If we want to take a leave of absence, we don't have to clear it with anybody,
Right.
So it truly is about the agents that want it badly enough to do the things that maybe they don't want to do at that exact moment, to get the results that they want to have long term. So I keep looking for a magic bullet and a secret formula. I do think it's interesting that statistically, the professions that do the best going into real estate are teachers and nurses, because and the idea behind that is that, first of all, a lot of them are interested introverts, right? So they're not focus being on them, and they come from a background, they chose careers where they wanted to help people. And people feel that from you. They feel it if you're just a paycheck, or if, it's somebody's mission to really help you with your real estate needs. So, having that servant's heart is one of the best pluses, and also one of the most rare characteristics, I think, quite often in our field.
I agree. Yeah, you
No.
know, you come into a business that you don't know anything about with an ego, you're probably going to not do well. If you come in with an open mind and ready to receive information, you're probably going to do a lot better. That being said, you know, what do you think you will be seeing in the next year, you know, for, you know, the types of transactions people can expect? Is it going to be, you know, looking at the mortgage industry right now where all the refinance is dried up and people are looking more for purchase and things like that? Do you think that agents need to be better prepared for a short sale market and that type of a thing coming up in the next couple of years? Do you have an opinion on that?
The industry leaders that I've listened to, and I'll tell you, I spend a lot of time listening to the biggest leaders in our company. I read almost every press release that Inman puts out. You know, I really try to listen to the people that are on the forefront that have more information than I do, and everybody's projecting pain. I mean, I haven't heard anybody. I haven't heard anybody be optimistic. So, but you know, the great news is that what we saw in 2008, 2009, 2010 is that, yeah, a lot of people got out of the industry, but a lot of people made more money. And it was like anything else. The top 10% made more money than they ever had. So do I think you
For
need
sure.
I think you need to be prepared for short sales. I think you need to be paying attention to it in your marketplace. And if you start to see any kind of an uptick on that, yeah, get short sale certified. And our company eXp does a free certification or a really low cost certification. The iBuyer programs I think are really fascinating too. We've got a really interesting iBuyer program with our company. That keeps the real estate agent kind of in the absolute center of the transaction. You know, we're going to see some huge shifts, and none of us know what that looks like. The thing that concerns me the most, Rob and Paul, by far with our industry, is the number of institutional buyers that are gobbling up single family homes. You know, when you know, the largest company in the world, Blackstone, is doing everything they can to buy city blocks of homes. So you think about, you know, the number that I heard was in 2021, about 19% of all homes were sold to institutional investors. So what that means is that 19% of homes 6 or 7 years ago theoretically would be coming back on the market. Well, they may never come back on the market because those institutional buyers have a buy and hold forever mentality, and they can borrow money at less than 0% interest. I mean, as mortals, the mom and pop investors, the person that has 10 or 15 homes, cannot compete with somebody that is borrowing money at basically 0% interest, and that has all kinds of government perks. I mean, we just can't compete. So how are we going to compete against that continually lower amount of inventory? And if that trend continues for the next 5 years, my goodness, how many single family homes will even be available 5 years from now? And I don't mean to be an agent of doom, because I mean, I feel like my career has thrived because of my optimism, but my goodness, we have to be paying attention to what's going on. So I feel like part of my job as a leader, especially with such a large revenue share organization, you know, over 7,000 agents in my rev share organization, part of my responsibility is to be staying on the forefront of what's next and help my agents make that pivot when the time comes. So I think all of us as leaders of real estate companies have to be very, very careful that we are preparing our agents for, for some not so nice weather.
Right. So just for information, I posted all of our stuff in the chat box. If anyone has any questions, please just put them into the chat box and we can get to them that way, as opposed to trying to open it up for conversation with too many attendees. So that's the way to get your question across, is in the chat box. And then a question from me, Traci, is, you know, obviously change is here, right? Change is happening with the higher interest rates and the change in the economy. But change also means opportunity. I know you said there's pain predicted out there, but even in that type of change, there is opportunity to be had. So in terms of recruiting and protecting your office, right? Finding agents, finding the right agents, because in change, you know, agents are going to move. So to position your real estate company for these changing times, how should a managing broker go out there and identify agents that would be in for the long haul? You know, are those going to be the new agents? Are those the top producers? Are those the middle bracket? And then retain the agents as well, because it's two sides of the equation there. So what advice do you have for managing brokers to make sure their office stays strong or even grows during a challenging time like this?
And great question, Paul. It's like everything else, we have to be providing massive, massive value to our agents, because the agents, we all want to feel like our agents are loyal to us, right? But ultimately, our agents need to be loyal to themselves and to their families. So if an agent sees that they can make a pivot to another real estate company, and they believe that they're going to have more money, they're going to make more opportunity, maybe they can see an exit strategy, maybe they can see a different level of training, it's in that agent's best interest to make that move. And as brokers, we can't begrudge people for wanting to do what's best for them and for their business, as painful as it is. Every agent that ever left me at my Century 21 franchise, I cried over. Because
It's tough.
it is, it's painful. And it's painful because, I always looked in the mirror. I never looked at another broker and said, how dare you recruit my agents? I always looked in the mirror and said, how did I fail that agent? What did I need to do as a leader to help them succeed and to build their real estate business? So a lot of it is we as brokers have got to be out there learning what's new, learning what's next, paying attention. And that is tough to do. When I owned my own brokerage, I did compliance and I did payroll and I signed checks. And I did the recruiting and I did the offboarding and I trained the office staff and, unclogged the toilets on the weekends if something happened. And that's the blessing of eXp, is that all I have to do is just to recruit and to nurture my agents. I don't have to do any of the compliance. Somebody else takes that off of my plate. So I think something to really consider is, is a merger in your best interest as a real estate broker? Could you use economy of scale? What can I outsource? Am I making use of VAs? Am I touching my agents on a regular basis? Are they hearing from me? Are they seeing my face? Are they feeling that connection? Or do they look at me and feel like they can come to me for new and innovative solutions? Am I giving them the solutions before they're even asking the questions? And the other thing to look at is, what kind of fees are you charging your agents? When I owned my Century 21 franchise and money was falling from the sky, 2004, 2005, 2006, when, we were doing drug dealer loans, 119% loan to values. Oh my gosh, glory days, right? Agents were okay with paying a franchise fee, and agents were okay with not having a cap, and agents were okay with paying just a little bit higher commission split for that Century 21 name, right? Century 21 was a big player at the time. But when the market took a downturn, and I sold my real estate company, there was a mass exodus from the real estate company that I sold, and a big chunk of them went to KW, and they went to KW because KW was promoting more training. KW had a cap. They had a cap on their franchise fee too. So for a big producing agent, all they had to do was just change the sign in front of the yard and they were going to keep more money. And when they're starting to sell less houses, no real estate agents' bills are getting any smaller just because the market is getting worse. Right? They're not getting cheaper. Okay. And if they've got their home on an ARM loan, may God have mercy on their soul. Right. So it really comes down to, every agent in our offices is being heavily recruited by other real estate companies. And we have, as brokers, have got to look at our value proposition. And if it is not the strongest value proposition in the marketplace, then our agents, the smart ones, are going to leave. And what's the saying about how the rats that can swim leave the ship first? The agents that have the best opportunities are going to be the first to leave our real estate companies. And as we know, when the top producers leave, the money ball players tend to follow. So you hit the nail on the head. If you can keep your A players, then it continues to be easy to recruit. But when those A players start looking for greener pastures, and you're recruiting agents and they're walking in and seeing empty desks, it's time to, it's time to look at something different.
Got it.
Mhm.
Well, maybe we
Awesome.
can put a quick selfless plug in for our services, Rob, which is, a lot of you on here are on task users, which, as you know, we plug in an MLS, we bring your roster in, and it allows you to not only retain your agents because the roster is in there, but identify, who's trending up and who's trending down, so you can have those meaningful conversations with them. And then, of course, you can do the same with your recruiting dashboard, where you go out to the MLS and you can also identify agents that either fit your zip code or production level, as well as maybe those agents that are trending up or down as well. And that is an opportunity to recruit. And then to Traci's point of, being a managing broker, having to wear many hats and try to delegate as much as possible. Obviously, our software makes it easier, but Rob, which I'll let him explain his services, he can take some of that recruiting effort off of your hands as well. Rob, you want to explain real quick?
I mean, sure. Yeah, we have a lot of fun every day doing lots of calls for real estate brokers all over North America. We've got a call center here in Canada that's Canadian based, where we reach out to your recruits and set appointments for you and have a high success rate with that. We love working with people like Traci, who are always in the mode of recruiting, because I think a lot of people look at it like it's seasonal. It's about to not be seasonal again, right? It's going to be something that you have to just have as a system, whether that's somebody in your office reaching out on a regular basis, or you hire a company like ours and use a software like Paul's. You've got to keep that ball rolling. The more that you start looking at recruiting like it's sales, the better chance you're going to have of keeping that going and developing a funnel. If you look at it like something that's the last on your list, you're going to have really difficulty keeping any kind of a recruiting campaign going. Plus, you're going to start thinking about retention, and then you've got a couple of problems there that you probably need to solve. And so I'm always available to chat. I think that Traci has got some great things to chat about as well. If you want to reach out to Traci, or make sure you pick up her book on Amazon, right? She's got some great tips in there about life and about business. And she's a huge Tony Robbins fan, but also she got in at an early stage with eXp, right? Where she made a smart decision and a business decision that a lot of people are scared to do. I'm sure she'd love to talk to anybody on this call about how she's done that and how she's turned it into something that's a win for her, and hopefully we'll get to have her back on the podcast here. I feel like we just scratched the surface with her today on that. There's a lot of information, and so thanks for having me on again today, Paul. I look forward to the next one, obviously.
So I've been told the chat box was not working. I think it's working now. So I apologize for that. And hopefully everyone did see all of our contact information out there, and along with Traci and her website and her phone number to reach out to her. And as Rob said, please get a hold of her book. Let's
explodeyourcareer.com.
Explode your career. Explode your career. So why don't we wrap it up with some closing comments from Traci, and then we'll hopefully have her back again on another podcast here.
Well, guys, it's been such an honor to talk with you guys and to meet with your audience. This is the time where our agents need us the most. And we're very blessed to be in leadership positions to be able to really impact all of the agents within our organizations and the agents within our communities. So, I believe with all my heart and soul that one of the best ways to financial freedom is by selling real estate. And so we're very blessed to be agents of hope and agents of change for the people that are blessed to work with us. So, go out and grow and prosper. And if I can be of any service at all, like I said, I've recruited now for 3 companies. I've seen it all. I feel like I would be honored to talk with anybody out there about how to increase your recruits, and of course, keep the agents that you have happy and prosperous as well. And I got to tell you, I've been working now with Rob for goodness going on a year, and it's been a game changer for my business. It really has been. And the collaboration with you and your team and the other brokers that you work with, I've been very, very blessed to be in business with you guys, with y'all. Thank you so much.
And again,
thank you, Traci.
Yeah.
Traci, www.explodeyourcareer.com. Thank you all for joining us, and good luck with these challenging times, but challenging times mean opportunities. So thanks again for joining us.
Always.
and have a great day. Thank you.
Guys, bye-bye.
Thanks for coming.